Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here on a winning Sunday for Arsenal. They've just beaten Everton 1-0 at Goodison Park to continue their unbeaten start to the Premier League season. So I thought I'd pop on, have a little bit of a chat about the game, go through my Arsenal player ratings as well. And Arsenal have won at Goodison Park. Can you believe it? Maybe this is what I needed to do to break that curse. Needed to come and watch the game at my dad's like I've done today, rather than travel all the way up to Liverpool and sit in that press box at Goodison Park and watch Arsenal toil for the last 5 years and lose every single game. Maybe this is why we won today, because I've watched it here sat next to my dad. What a great win it was. Wasn't the prettiest at times, was never going to be the prettiest against this Everton at Goodison Park, but Arsenal absolutely dominated the game. They controlled it. Everton didn't have a sniff all day, and Arsenal getting a win with a really, really good goal by Leandro Trossard in the second half. Another game they probably should have won by more, but when you look at the way they celebrated that win at full time, I don't think they really care. They knew this was a big win, playing last in the weekend as well, having seen everyone else win yesterday, to go to a ground where you haven't won at since 2017, to dig it out, to win. You could see what it meant to the players. You could see what it meant to Mikel Arteta as well, who has just been speaking after the game. And he's obviously really, really happy with that performance, which he called an incredible performance. I'm not sure it's quite incredible, but it was very, very controlled. And I think, as much as it might not be as fun as we all watched last season, I think this might be more of what we're going to see from Arsenal this year. I think this is what Arsenal are about. I think this is what Mikel Arteta thinks Arsenal need to be if they're going to go one better than they did last year. Because as great as Arsenal were to watch last season, ultimately they didn't win the league. Manchester City still beat them. And I do wonder if Mikel, looking at this team, thinking, how do we go one step further? Kind of what we've seen in the first 5 games. Look, they're going to have to improve, no doubt about it. But kind of some of the parts of what we've seen from these first 5 games, I think might be the way he thinks Arsenal can get the job done, just to be more resolute, because they have been, even though they conceded a few goals at home. When you look at the control they've had in games, you look at the XG in terms of goals conceded, they are not giving up much at all, and they did not give Everton a sniff. Look, Everton were rubbish, dreadful, but Arsenal still, I thought they controlled it very, very well. You could tell at half-time they just needed to up the tempo a little bit, and when they did that, they would prove a little bit too good for Everton, and that's how it panned out, especially with the goal. It was a real high-quality goal. Brilliant finish from Trossard, but the sort of set play routine, which was clearly well worked, and Trossard with the finish to make it 1-0. A really lovely side-footed finish as well. That's one of the hardest things you can do in football, that type of finish, when you've got to open your foot out the way he did and caress it into the far corner. It really, really was a lovely goal. You see it better from this picture here, for a crowded penalty area as well, from Bukayo Saka's cutback. The tactic was a really interesting one, that short corner tactic. It was something Arsenal did a lot in the game. They didn't just pump the balls into the box from corners. They kept playing it short, trying to work their way in. You could see it was something that was absolutely worked on in the training ground. I mean, Sky Sports have been watching it. They've been banging on about it since full time, trying to act like it was time wasting or something Arsenal was doing, which is utter rubbish. Why on earth would Arsenal be time wasting at 0-0 against Everton when they are literally dominating the game and trying to win it and are desperate to win? Why on earth would they time waste? It's not like they're playing for a 0-0 draw at Goodison Park. It just makes no sense. It was a clear tactic, what they were doing, to try and sort of drag Everton out of position, to get them to switch off a little bit, and then bang, sort of hit that short corner routine. And you could see when they scored. I mean, look at the picture here. Zinchenko went over to Arteta and the coaching staff. Arteta and Nicholas Yeovil, the set piece coach, went together and hugged. It was a definite tactic that Arsenal did. It nearly worked a couple of times before it. It did work for this one. Really well worked moves, Vieira, Saka, and then the finish from Trossard, who I thought played really well in the second half. And he came in for Martinelli, who went off injured, which was a blow. And Arteta's just been speaking afterwards, and Arteta said it was a hamstring issue. He said he felt something in his hammy and he's going to have to be assessed. That doesn't sound good when it comes to hamstrings. You know, you're looking at around 3 weeks out, which is a big blow, especially with the North London derby coming up. So yeah, that was a bit of a blow. But apart from that, I just thought it was a really good, solid performance from Arsenal, and they got the job done. I mean, they could have easily been in front in that first half, and the offside goal. I mean, the letter of the law, it's offside, blah, blah, blah. But how anyone can tell me that Beto, when he's trying to cut out that pass, is not making a deliberate action? I just don't get it. What else is a deliberate action? You can see he stretches his leg out to block the pass, and then it deflects into Nketiah's pass. Yes, into his path. Yes, Nketiah's offside. But the ball's come off Beto, and how's it not? I just don't get it. How's that not deliberate action when you stick your leg out to block a pass? Surely there's nothing more deliberate than that, is there? But who knows? Thankfully, that has not been a big talking point at the end of full time because Arsenal got the win with that goal from Trossard. But yeah, good win. Delighted to win at Goodison Park. And you can kind of move on now and get ready for that North London derby next week against Tottenham. Okay, player ratings time. Big call, obviously. David Raya coming in. My predicted 11, as usual, this morning. Totally wrong. I thought Ramsdale would stay in. You knew Raya was going to come in at some point very, very soon. I didn't think it'd be for this game. I thought Raya would probably come in for the Champions League game in midweek. But it is David Raya who is in goal in the Premier League now. Whether that ends up being a long-term thing remains to be seen, but I think it's quite a big moment this early in the season that Mikel has made that change. Whether it's because of the Champions League starting up again and now Ramsdale's going to be the Champions League goalkeeper and the Cup goalkeeper remains to be seen, but it was a big call. He didn't have anything to do. What he did have to do, he did it very well. A couple of crosses he claimed pretty well. Whenever he had the ball at his feet, he was very comfortable, moved it forward and did it well. So, I've given him a 6, but maybe it should be a 7 because everything he did well. He did nothing wrong, but I think you sort of start on a 6, and if you do things wrong, maybe you lose points. He didn't do anything wrong, but not sure he did enough to really warrant the 7, so I've given him a 6. But I'm sure you can all complain about that because a lot of you probably will. So I'm going to give him a 6. Ben White, I thought played pretty well. Had one shot in the first half, left-footed shot that was straight at the goalkeeper. Did all right. I gave White a 6. I gave Saliba an 8. I actually thought Saliba was my man of the match, to be honest. Saliba or Declan Rice was my man of the match. Trossard got it on Sky, but I thought Saliba or Declan Rice was man of the match. They were really, really good. Saliba just bossed Beto a couple of times when Beto sort of had the ball at his feet, tried to run at Saliba, and it was too easy for Saliba. He absolutely bossed it. It was a real dominant display. And yeah, I just thought he was excellent. Once again, I gave Saliba an 8. I gave Gabriel a 7. He looked a bit tired at the end, Gabriel, which is no surprise after the sort of starting both games for Brazil, having a bit of an injury issue as well, and flying over and back from South America. He tired a little bit. I thought he got 7. Zinchenko, I gave a 7. I thought he struggled at times, looked rusty at times in the first half, but there was about a 20-minute spell at the start of the second half when I thought he played really, really well. Zinchenko was really influential in driving Arsenal forward and changing momentum of game a bit. So I gave Zinchenko a 7. Declan Rice, like I said, I gave an 8. I thought he was exceptional once again. Maybe 1 or 2 times he could have moved the ball a little bit quicker going forward. But on the whole, I thought he protected the back four brilliantly. He broke up Everton's play constantly. Everton just could not get past him, and he did go forward when he could. So I thought Rice played very well. I gave him an 8. Odegaard and Vieira, I both gave 7s. Odegaard probably disappointed he didn't score with one chance early in the second half, which he put straight at Pickford. Probably would have thought he could have picked out the far corner with that one. But some lovely touches. I thought Vieira played well. I was surprised Vieira started. I thought he'd stick with Havertz because of the type of game it was going to be at Goodison, but Vieira started. Thought it had some lovely touches. His finishing was wayward. He had a couple of shots that were pretty wild, high, and not handsome. But I thought, considering the type of game, and he did get involved in a fair few duels, and I thought he coped with it really well. I thought it was a real promising sign there for Vieira. He didn't get muscled out of things. I thought he played well, so that was good. Fair play to Fabio Vieira. I gave him a 7. Saka, I thought Mylenko, however you pronounce it, I thought every time I see him play against Saka, I think he defends pretty well against him. And I thought he did today as well. He kept him relatively quiet, but Saka still popped up with a moment of quality to set up the goal for Trossard. So I gave him a 7. Eddie really struggled, barely got in the game at all. I gave him a 4 just because he barely had any touches. And I thought there was a couple of times he could have maybe got in and around the 6-yard box a little bit more, showed a bit more intent to get in. There was one ball that was flashed across, I think, from Trossard that maybe he could have got at the end on if he showed a bit more intent. So I didn't think it was the best of days for Eddie. Gave him a 4. Martinelli obviously went off injured early on with that hamstring injury after scoring. The finish for the goal that was disallowed was brilliant. But it's tough to really give him a mark because he only played sort of 25 minutes. And when he was on the pitch, he was lively. And I thought Arsenal struggled after he went off initially until half time. So I'll give, if I need to give Martinelli a score, it'll probably be 6 for his time on the pitch, but really it'd be an NA because he was only on for sort of a quarter of the game, if that. Substitutes came on. Trossard obviously came on for Martinelli, scored the winner. I gave him a 7. Like I said, I thought he struggled in the first half, wasn't in the game, kept making it really narrow as well. When he did get in the ball, he gave it away a couple of times. Second half, much, much better. Goal was brilliant. And fair play to him. Such a good finish. Gave him a 7. Then Tomiyasu came on and Havertz came on right at the end final 10 minutes, Tomiyasu had a little bit of extra height. Havertz as well. Neither of them really did anything wrong or anything right. It was just, they helped see the game out. So I'm not going to give either of those two a mark. Jesus came on for about half an hour to replace Nketiah. Did more when he was on the pitch than Nketiah did. Look, caused Everton a few more problems, I think. But, I gave him a 6 as well. Right, that's it from me. Be back tomorrow. We'll talk about this a lot more in depth. We'll have a look at what Mikel Arteta has had to say a lot more in depth in the press conference as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that from me. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Sunday night, everyone. Have a sit back. Arsenal have won at Goodison Park. I repeat, Arsenal have won at Goodison Park. Have a good evening, everyone. I'll speak to you very soon.